G'day everybody, my name is Bloody Drongo and I have all of the timing of a broken watch because I released a video talking about the fact that it hadn't been addressed. A whole bunch of staff had been removed from the Wurm Online team, and less than 2 hours later, the CEO put out a post on the forums addressing exactly that. So let's talk about it, because there is some more interesting news and some other things that I want to highlight throughout this whole thing. But yeah, first of all, let's take a look at the letter from the CEO, departing friends and what's on the horizon. I have some unfortunate news, says Krista, in regards to the departure of several valuable team members. Dark Lords Keenan, Pandalit, and Demona are no longer with us as staff, although they will continue to be members of our community as players. Each of them has left for different reasons, and I want to say I respect all the time, hard work, and dedication that they have dedicated to make Wurm where it is today. With personnel changes, here are some positive news. Now, before we go on, I do want to just call out the fact that we already knew about Dark Lords Keenan and Pandalit. However, Demona, the community manager for Wurm Online, was one that was not on my radar initially in my previous video. So that is a surprise. And looking at the Wurm Online staff directory, she is, as of recording, still listed as the community relations manager or community manager. And she still has staff privileges. Maybe there's part of the offboarding process for Wurm that I just don't understand. That's entirely possible. But it does seem to be very, very weird that there is this weird mishmash of staff members and ex-staff members that have all these different roles and not roles, but do have roles, but have been removed from staff lists. And it's just a very, very bizarre situation. The other thing worth noting on here is that one of the key figures that we pointed out earlier, Nini, the Wurmpedia manager or Wurmpedia lead, isn't noted here as a departed staff member. But they're definitely not a staff member anymore. As I showed in my previous video earlier today, they were a staff member on here. They had been removed from the Wurm Online staff directory, but they don't get a departure thank you. That's, again, I may not understand the offboarding process, but this is just weird. It's either really, really weird, the process, and there's some reason why things happen at this rate, or it is just really sloppy and really chaotic in the back end, which is also, I guess, given how much staff movement is going on, maybe that's a possibility as well. And not mentioned in here, but has been updated on the Wurm staff directory, has been Nordlys has departed the team as well. Although it hasn't been officially confirmed, it would appear to be the case. They have also been removed from the team or have left the team, whatever the circumstance may be. So no mention of that here. I think this is a relatively recent development because that certainly wasn't the case when I was recording the video earlier. So maybe it has come about after this public post. I'm not sure. But it is definitely worth noting that there has been additional people that aren't mentioned in this thread that have left. But let's talk about the good news, because Krista has some good news for us. And the good news is that lead forum moderator has been taken over by Bratty Girls Back, as we mentioned in our previous video. And says that in the time they've worked together, Bratty Girls Back has learned much from Pandalit, and we look forward to seeing her in a new role. During these difficult times, I've been getting great insights from the team and have been getting great feedback and ways forward. These will take time to incorporate, but will show immensely helpful in taking Wurm to the next level. And the other piece of good news is that there's open positions on the team. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't laugh because this is very serious, and you know, I know that there is a lot of people that are probably extremely hurt by what's going on, and it is but there is just something comical about the fact it's like, here is the positive news about these people leaving our team. We've got a replacement for one of the 4 roles that we listed. We forgot to mention at least one other staff member. And we've got vacant positions if you want to apply for them. That's the good news. Fantastic. There's something just morbidly hilarious about that. I'm sorry. Maybe you'll agree with me. Maybe you won't. I promise I am taking this seriously, but it's just bizarre. So yeah, more volunteer staff position is up. You can apply if you want to. And Krista also has some other updates for us. Talking about the website, they're looking forward to relaunch, but no mention of when that is going to happen, what the timeline is for that. It's been taking quite a long time. I understand that Catspur has mentioned in the Wurm Discord that there is a little bit of back and forth that needs to go along. I still don't agree. You know, obviously this is not a criticism of her because this is not something that she is personally responsible. She's not the project lead for this at all. She is just the individual working under the lead of this project. But the workflow that she outlined is not efficient at all and is directly hampering their ability for everybody to do their jobs. So they need to work to smooth that out and become more efficient, because it's just madness. They're not in a position where they can do, they don't have the luxury to have like a multi-month long lead time and project workflow. It's just too slow for the position they're in, and for the state of the website, it's just not good enough, unfortunately. So, again, just to reiterate, not a criticism of Catspur. She's, doing great work, and I think, honestly, out of everybody involved, she has been probably the most transparent about the state of the website and what's going on. Yeah, they, whoever's in charge of that needs to step up their game, in my opinion. Next up, when can we get it out? So they say soon. They'd like to share it with you all. Apparently they're going to share a non-public preview site to get the community's thoughts and inputs. I don't mind this as an idea. It's decent. Honestly, it probably should have been what they did with the first version. But, hey, yeah. I mean, it's a nice sentiment. I don't think it's necessary. I think if you have the right people doing the job, you shouldn't need, you should be confident that it is going to be representative of the community and they're going to like it. Or at least as much as any large portion of people is going to take to something. People are going to like it, people are going to hate it. That's just the nature of the business, right? He's proposed that it's going to be the end of next week. Hopefully. Well, I think if he can get the website out or the preview website out at the end of next week, that'll be a good step in the right direction to start winning back some trust of the community, because I think there has been a pretty substantial whack given to the community. Then there's this weird post about Enki. We've been working with him on setting up work to get his content out. Hopefully he can start shortly to get something out next month, which is really lacking context, because I don't think it's ever been publicly spoken about exactly what Enki's new role is now that he's outside of a head game master position, and what capacity he works with Wurm Online. From this, and from what I've garnered from, hearsay and speaking with other players in the community, I understand that Enki is going into some kind of event coordinator role, which is kind of fun. But it would be probably, it feels like this tiny one sentence of information is putting the cart before the horse in terms of you know, announcing that, I guess. It just seems odd that that's just kind of dropped in there randomly. Then they go on to say, Krista goes on to say, we have a new project at the planning stage and will become and begin sharing more with the community when we have a clear outline. We are looking to update the first hours of the game with a more modern approach into tutorials and have our newbies working together, which is a bewildering statement to me. This may be a translation issue, I'm not sure, but it sounds to me like Krista is suggesting that they are planning some kind of collaborative tutorial, which is a bizarre concept. But, you know, I think the Wurm tutorial right now isn't the worst version of the tutorial that we've ever had. I don't think it's perfect by any extent of the imagination. And it's something that could definitely use some love, and helping new player retention is always a key area that a MMO should be routinely reviewing. So if they're doing that, sure, good. They want to begin development of that during September. Doesn't say what year, but I am going to assume here that when Krista is talking about timelines, he is talking this year. I'll give him that that kindness. So he's talking September to begin development of this new tutorial section. The end game content, they want to, in parallel with the development of the new player experience, they want to develop a way to track quests, in quotation marks. Krista says he'll need our help here to make ideas into reality. We shall start a post with the outlines and collect your insights and share our work, which is really bizarre. I mean, I could see a system that fits in conjunction with the existing journal system that could be like a quest, so to say, and maybe the existing achievement system. But this is a really interesting idea, considering that Wurm has never had like NPC given quests. It does feel like a departure from the core aspects of the game, so it will be interesting to see how that fits together. Then goes on to talk about graphics and client development. We are poised to do work on our client to upgrade our graphics, as well as code optimization to increase stability and offer a smoother experience, starting development in August. This is something we would see would benefit new and current players. This is an aggressive timeline. So what Krista is saying here is that they are going to be starting updating graphics and code optimization next month. 3 days time. And they've just had so many people leave from the team. Who knows how long this will run for. I feel like, you know, graphics updates and code optimization is probably a bit of an ongoing project. So might be a bit of a nothing burger in terms of, hey, this is something that we're doing. But it's like something that they could well already be doing passively anyway, and it's kind of irrelevant. So yeah, I don't know what I make about that. It'll be interesting to see whether that has any direct ramifications. Then he goes on to talk about PvP. We haven't forgotten about PvP, but with our limited resource and current team size, it's not realistic to deliver any significant updates / changes to it this year. After we've revised the beginner's experience and graphic updates, we can shift the focus back on it. We will begin talks with the PvP community. There are a lot of ideas like merging islands, to name only one. These changes have huge implications and are big undertakings, but with your help, we can plan it out. We would also benefit from somebody from your side to be the voice of the collective. I hope this is something that we can set up. This is really interesting. So this is the type of role that Dark Lords specifically held. Was, you know, Dark Lords was an ex-PvPer and did have close community ties with a lot of PvP engaged players, and to my understanding was earlier this year meant to be bringing out a pretty sizable PvP update and introduced PMKs to some of the new PvP servers, or the newer PvP servers, I should say. And that has not come out. This was meant to come out months ago, and I can only imagine, based off of what is being discussed here, that there is obviously some kind of specific pivot that has been requested by Krista or management, whether that's Samuel or somebody else, I don't know, to take focus away from PvP, and that's why it hasn't been fulfilled. Or it could just be the fact that their Dark Lords has left the team, so they're just going to go, let's put everything that he's worked on so far into the trash and start again, which is odd, I would say. But who knows? Who knows? I guess we'll see. Then we have Wurm Unlimited. We can learn a lot from content being created here. We'll begin looking at how we can best work together to add that content to Wurm Online. As for Unlimited itself, this year we will not be able to focus on adding to it, but we know that a code update is needed. This is really bizarre. This is really bizarre. So, number one, I think it's great. There is a lot of really great ideas being introduced from the modding community in Wurm Unlimited. And I think for the Wurm Online team to be inspired by ideas and concepts that have been successfully implemented on Wurm Unlimited is a great idea. No issue with that. But the idea, the commitment here, the suggested commitment that they are going to update Wurm Unlimited when they have already pulled now for at least a couple of years, I feel like, update support for Wurm Unlimited is a ridiculous idea. From a manpower perspective, I have to wonder, like, I'm no expert when it comes to programming or anything like that, but to my understanding, when you have two parallel projects and they start to diverge from a code and data perspective, which is what Wurm Online and Wurm Unlimited have, the longer that goes on and the further they diverge, the much harder it is to actually put code from one and transfer it over to the other and actually get it to work and integrate it back in. It can be extremely complex and time consuming. Again, asterisks here, very much my rudimentary understanding here, citation needed, blah, blah, blah. But this to me seems like a completely unnecessary commitment to a community that has already been spited by the developers. And, you know, they've had their 2 cents, they've had their moment of anger to be sad that their game is no longer being officially updated and supported in conjunction with Wurm Online. And it should have just been left at that. This is going to reopen those wounds, and if there is any kind of letdown in the future, then that's going to cause an even bigger backlash from that community. And realistically, like, I just don't see it as being a big net win, and I don't see it being worth Wurm's time, honestly. Then we have finances. So, Christo has suggested that he wants to share the financial situation of Wurm Online with all of us. He said that this can be in the form that you choose is best suited. I'll accommodate the wishes of the team and the community. I have no idea what this, this is, I'm okay with this. This is an unprecedented level of transparency, but this is bizarre. This is really bizarre. I would say, Krista, if you watch this, release the profit and loss, release the P&L, release the financials for 123AB, or is it 123AB? I forget the company that actually owns Wurm Online under Game Chess Group. But release the financials. Release the financials for the game and release, you know, your business plan. You know, for any business, any corporation that is going to be going through a rebrand and an expansionary period and a growth period is going to have a business plan. This is an area of business that I'm intimately familiar with. One of my key day jobs would be reviewing business plans and doing viability and verifications on risks, exposure, the actual financials, whether they're accurate or not. This is all stuff that's like bread and butter to me. And I would love to see it. I would love to see what Krista thinks they can do in the future, how they're going to achieve it, and how they're going to mitigate the various risks and hurdles that are going to be lying in front of them. And I'd also love to understand how Wurm is performing as a business, just from a purely interest standpoint. And I think the one benefit that can come from this is if Wurm does need to make hard decisions in the future regarding, increases in prices or, potentially cutting staff, things like that. If there needs to be hard decisions made that may prove to be unpopular, then at the very least, if there is that level of transparency there, it will make it a lot easier for the community to understand. If the writing's on the wall and they're like, okay, well, clearly the game isn't performing from a financial perspective, it needs to be done, they need to try something, fair enough. And I think most people would understand that. So, but this is completely unprecedented. I absolutely did not expect to see this just casually dropped in here. But yeah, Krista, if you watch this video, release the P&L, release the financials, release the business plan. Show us how we're going to achieve it. Show us where we are, and let's get behind it. Let's get amongst it. So in closing, the biggest insight that Krista has gained is that Wurm Online is not run by a single person, and it has never been that way. It is a community-driven project, and I do not intend to change that, even though I made mistakes and we have lost valuable people. My goal is to share our victories and burdens with you. There will be backlash, and I see every departure as my failing, be it financially as well as personally. Wurm Online is yours, you created it, and it is not mine and never will be. However, my job is to secure the well-being of our team and to make sure we have the finances to be able to not only keep Wurm Online alive and well, but further improve it and add content to it. We will share more, and we will invite feedback and team members. I can see the harm in keeping a locked door, as it is not only disruptive to you, but we are losing so much insight by doing things without involving our community, the thing that makes this all possible. I'm sorry, Krista, again, if you're watching this, please don't use colored text on a white background or a beige background. It is just impossible to read. Even if our new management style will take some time to adjust to and show results, I'm confident that we can work past our grievances and create more content at a quicker rate. With all that said, for anybody left, my door is open, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You are always part of Wurm. So this was posted now, how many hours ago? Like 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago. It's got 11 likes, which is not that many. Normally, actually, there you go. Now you can see it. It's not that many. And I think the reception to this at best has been lukewarm. And it is pretty evident that the community is not particularly happy with all of this. It is, I think, really, really interesting. There is a very strange irony in the fact that Krista in the same post says, I see the harm in keeping a locked door, but has the topic closed for discussion. There is a irony in here. I think overall, there's a lot of stuff that's included in here that doesn't really need to be included in here, and part of me worries that this is just like padding out stuff to try and appease the community without any kind of real follow through. That could be very unfair of me to say. I don't know for certain. And to be fair, from a professional standpoint, Krista's position right now is extremely difficult. And to play devil's advocate to myself, because obviously I've been fairly critical of Krista and some of the decisions that I can only attribute to Krista. I don't know that for sure, but for the sake of argument here, I am going to attribute them to him. But Krista is in a really difficult position, and the reason why that is because he has come from a corporate professional background. He's come into not only a new industry that I believe he's unfamiliar with, but a niche gaming industry in the MMO space, which is a notoriously difficult space to manage and create really profitable and successful games in. MMOs are really, really challenging. And to add on top of that, you know, Wurm Online is super niche and has a super tight-knit community, and trying to adjust and come to terms with that internal culture is probably going to be very, very tough for a corporate individual such as Krista to acclimatize to. That is kind of, I think, the reality from that standpoint. So he has a really, really tough job here. Unfortunately, the community reception, like I said, hasn't been great. There has been several threads that have popped up, feedback, no login until explanation, mediation over negativity, lots of people talking, mixed messages, lots of people talking about kind of the current situation and their thoughts about it. And the overall prevailing theme that I see from the players that are being vocal at the moment is that they feel like these are empty sentiments from Krista. And I think that's why it's really, really important that he starts to follow through on the small commitments that he's made, such as having the preview website out next week, you know, making some substantial gains in graphical updates and code optimizations next month, and, you know, beginning to start and fleshing out planning of the new player experience for September. I think all of that stuff he needs. I think that's the real thing here, is that the trust is being eroded and has been consistently eroded by everything that's gone on over the last couple of months. And now the only road back from that is to actually start to make commitments and deliver on that, or over deliver. Every missed commitment now, every letdown, everything that is seen to be not fulfilled as a promise is going to continue to erode that, and it's going to be a phenomenon that just magnifies in the psyche of the community if it goes that way. So realistically, from my perspective, I really do hope that the commitments that have been outlined here, the few ones that have been made, are made promptly. And also, I really, really hope that we actually do see a permanent game director or product director appointed that will move Krista back into a CEO role and out of this kind of hybrid CEO role, and game director or product director role, because I don't think he's the best person suited to the job. And you know what? I think he would probably agree with that. So the sooner they find somebody capable to fill that role, the better. The sooner they find people to replace these key individuals here, the better. Demona leaving, like a lack of a community manager, is really dangerous, because one of the really difficult things that we have at the moment as an issue is the player communication. And without a community manager to act as the mouthpiece for the community, and from the community back to the developers, the developers to the community and the community back to the developers, there is a massive disconnect in communication there. And again, I don't think that Krista has shown that he is in a position to do that at a consistent and high level of quality. And so I really, really hope, for the sake of the game, that they are able to find somebody really competent to put into that community manager role, because it's I think a really undervalued role, and takes a lot of time and commitment, and takes very much the right skill set and demeanor to be able to be successful in that. So yeah. But anyway, that's the current update. That's the current situation. Nothing too crazy here, no in-depth stuff, but I just wanted to talk about what's gone on as a bit of a carry on from my previous video that I released earlier today. Thank you for watching so far. I hope you found this interesting in terms of the insights and talking about this. I know not everybody has time to review the forums and read about this and go into deep dives, and thank you for all the wonderful feedback and everything. I know that there is a large portion of people that are appreciating these news updates, so thank you. Cheers. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye.